First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out. This great event. Let's once again, Marine Max, let's give him applause. Beautiful location here. Thank you, Bob Sutton. Thank you for everything that you do in the background. Of course, Celeste probably does more than you, but I got to But we got to also thank your wife, Teresa. She's outstanding. I want to thank all the veterans here, everyone from the Army, the Navy, the Marines. Happy birthday, Marines, 246 years. I also want to recognize the Coast Guard as well, and anyone that served for this country in any manner. We cannot do it without your support. Everybody matters, everybody counts, because we make the difference. And a lot of people always say, well, Abby, you should run for office. You know what? Before I run for office, we need to start here at the local level, starting with our kids, starting at the home, taking care of them. If we can do that, then we can make a difference. Bob mentioned something about the bullies. I learned we all get bullied, everybody here, at one time or another. But the biggest outcome, I'm kind of shortening it because I'm giving you the end part, not the whole thing. But how do you handle a bully? Basically, you handle a bully by knowing who you are. So if someone calls me something that I'm not, you have to know who you are. If someone calls you something, a word, a derogatory word, whatever it may be, and you get mad, that means you believe what they just spoke to you. But if you know who you are, it doesn't matter what anybody says. It matters as long as you know who you are, then you're like, that's not going to affect you. So that's where it starts. Everything starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with you. That's where it begins. That being said, 1989, September 11th, I was in boot camp, and probably one of the craziest things I've ever did in my life. I'll be honest with you. I tell people all the time, the Marines is not for everybody. That's why they're called the few, the proud. And as a recruiter, I would tell people all the time, no, you don't want to join the Marines. Other recruiters said, what are you doing? I said, they're not good enough to be a Marine. They're like, what? And they would actually chase me and say, no, I want to be a Marine. I'm like, no, get away. Go join the Air Force. But there's nothing wrong with the Air Force, because now that I know, I would have joined the Air Force. In 1991, I went to Desert Storm. I was a young Lance Corporal, 19 years old. And going to combat, I always tell people this. I don't wish combat on my worst enemy. It's probably one of the worst things that I ever experienced. There's a lot of things that happened that I wish didn't happen, but at the same time, through that experience, I learned so much. And Pete Zayas, one of the Marines, Frank Sosa's here. We were in Iraq together in 2003. Frank, where you at? Raise your hand. So when we served in Desert Storm, he was my sergeant. He was my leader, and I looked up to him. But through seeing them and seeing their leadership, it taught me to become a better leader. And a friend of mine says, hey, Abby, why don't you speak and share about your story? And I did with a Catholic school in Miami Lakes. And everyone stood up and gave a standing ovation. And Pete Zayas comes out and says, okay. I said, Pete, you going to speak? He goes, no way, not after that. He goes, anybody has questions. And I started laughing. And he says, you have a gift. So I wasn't going to share this story, but one of the Marine Max gentlemen came up to me and says, hey, would you please share a sea story with us? And I said, okay, I will. So Desert Storm we call it the Forgotten War. Many people don't know what actually happened, but I was in the reserves at the time. I went to boot camp. I went to Marine Combat Training, MCT. We call it Marine Custodial Training because all we did was clean, and I know all the Marines out there, the Vietnam veterans, we're picking up all your trash that you left behind. Because that's what MCT was, Marine Combat Training, Marine Custodial Training, that's what we say. I went to SOI, School of Infantry. After School of Infantry, I checked into Miami TOES. I went to AT, annual training. I did 2 weeks, got home, got a phone call from Staff Sergeant Starboard, which I saw him last night at our celebration, that says, hey, Iraq has just attacked Kuwait and we, as a reserve unit, we're going to be getting activated. But don't worry about it. We're just going to go to Camp Lejeune while the active duty is going to go on to the war. They go, we're going to maybe go to 29 Palms and get some training out there before we go. Well, we get to Camp Lejeune, we start their training, and then they find out General Gray, we have a mass formation, a regimental battalion formation, took a couple hours, and he says, he looked at our uniform, he goes, look at your uniform, what's it say? It says U.S. Marines. It doesn't say Reserve Marines, it doesn't say Active Duty Marines, it doesn't say IRR Marines, it says Marines, you're all Marines. He says, and you're all going to fight. And we all looked at each other, we're going? Because they told us we were just going to stay on the base in Camp Lejeune while the active duty. Well, we found ourselves on an airplane, 24 hours. It's the first time on a transatlantic flight for myself. And I traveled, we landed in Aviana, Italy. And from there we landed in Saudi Arabia. I was the boot, I was the young, they all teased me, I was the youngest guy, I was 19. And I had an M16 and a SAW, squad automatic weapon. I had 2 weapons because no one wanted to carry them. But later on during the war, everybody wanted it. I was like, nope, this is what you gave me. So here I am in formation, I'd be with 2 weapons, go figure. But I remember seeing the first Arab person, the bus driver. I was afraid, I didn't know who this person was. I had fear. The war was 100 hours. And during those 100 hours, we experienced a lot of different things. We captured some enemy. I remember this one specific story. Sosa probably remembers this. And there was a guy with a Chicago Bulls shirt on. And we're looking at him, I was like, hey, do you speak English? He goes, yeah. I said, what are you doing? He goes, man, I came here on vacation. Saddam Hussein put me on the front line. I've been waiting for you guys to save us. This is 30 days of bombing, and I've been just waiting. I was like, oh, man, that's good to hear. But he had in Chicago. I found that so hilarious, you know? It was so funny and interesting. But anyway, after the 100-hour war was over, we made our way into Kuwait City. We saw the Kuwait Sheraton, it was burnt to the ground. We found vehicles loaded with, trucks loaded with beds, and they just pillaged everything. Radios and anything that they could take back, I guess, to sell in the black market in Iraq. They stole everything. But one of the most interesting things is as we rolled into Kuwait City, I saw a couple Muslim kids on the side of the street, and there was a young Muslim boy, probably about 14 years old, and as he saw us rolling up, he started to wave at us, and we stopped. And we stopped. The young Muslim boy looked at me, and he held up his finger in the air, and he said, America is #1. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth. At 19 years old, I don't remember ever saying that my country, the United States of America, is #1. But I had a kid tell me from another nation that my country was #1. But why was it #1 to him? But even today, some people don't think this country's #1. It's interesting. So it intrigued me. We pulled over, I talked to this young boy, and he explained to me, he goes, you know, when the enemy came in, I couldn't go to school. We couldn't go to the store. We couldn't go shopping. He goes, my dad, they took him, he disappeared. I don't know if I ever see him again. He says, you see my mom, they raped her. You see my sister, they cut off her legs. Oh. And they raped her too, and I'm like, man, that's horrible. And he goes, but when you guys showed up, he said, when the Marines showed up, the bad guys left. This young boy taught me something that morning. He taught me something called freedom. See, freedom isn't free. It was earned by all the men and women that put on that uniform. The men and women that sacrifice daily. If we were such a bad nation, the last 10 months we've had over 1 million people coming over our southern border. If it's so bad, then why are people coming and not leaving? I'm going to tell you, this is a great nation. No matter what people may say in the media, in the world, or anywhere, everyone's still trying to come. I heard this morning that the flights coming from Europe and other nations, they have increased over 500% in just 2 days that it's been open for the people that can come here and come to vacation. If it's such a bad nation, why are so many people coming? People are coming because it is the land of opportunity. It's the land of freedom. When I think about a good friend of mine that I served in the Marine Corps, Sergeant Rafael Buenas, who came from Cuba at 10 years old, left his father, never saw him again, joined the Marine Corps at 18 years old, and after serving the Marine Corps, became a citizen at the age of 24 and went on to get his master's degree, and he's a special agent. Ralphie, raise your hand, Ralphie. Came from another country to this country, left his land, has not been back to Cuba since then, since he was 10 years old. You know what? This country is the land of opportunity. This country is the land that we can make a difference. I'm going to tell you, as growing up in New Jersey, growing up, we were not wealthy, but of course we didn't know it. We thought everybody was the same. But now that I know what I know, I'm like, wait a second. I'm thankful for where I was, but I don't want to return there. I am more blessed today than I was. My family is well off today because of this country. And I'm thankful for that. And when you think about a veteran, you know, the greatest example of a veteran can be found in the Bible. Because the Bible says in John 15:13, greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. That's an example of what a veteran does. He does the ultimate sacrifice. John 3:16, for God so loved, what did he do? He gave. And that's the most important thing, is that we give. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about you. We make the difference. We can't wait for government handouts and stuff like that. But we need it. We see a veteran on the corner that is homeless or is hungry. We need to make that difference and make a difference and do it right there and then. Today we celebrate Veterans Day. But I want you to know that there's 364 more days that we need to celebrate the veterans. 364 more days. That we need to support them and help them. If we see them on the streets, go tell them, not just today, thank you, but tell them every day, thank you for your service. For God so loved, he gave. A veteran gave because it's about love. The truth is that all veterans pay their lives. Some pay it all at once. With some men that I served on April 4th, that 7 Marines around me were going into Baghdad, and all 7 of them got shot. By the grace of God, they all lived. But there was others that didn't live. I remember that night, the night before, I was praying in my vehicle. And it was time, it was like 2 a.m., it was time to wake up the next person to take over guard. Now understand, I'm a staff sergeant vehicle commander. I don't need to do fire watch. It's not required as my position as a leader. I don't need to do it. That's the other younger people. But I chose to say, you know, I'll take the first watch. It was from 2200 to 02 in the morning. But as I was in the vehicle, I had my Walkman. That's how old it is, right? We're walking this. I was listening to a worship CD by T.D. Jakes, and I started to pray. And as I finished, I went to go wake up my fellow Marines, give them the watch. And as I went to go give them the watch, one of them was snoring so loud, and we haven't slept in about 3-4 days. And I felt in my spirit to say, let them sleep and continue to pray. I stayed up all night praying. And the most interesting thing is that it wasn't for me. It was for my spirit man. Because the next day, April 4th, was the worst battle that we ever encountered. Did I have fear? Sure did. But the fear that I had, see, the Bible says God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And that's what he did for me. During the battle, during that time, I was focused. I was aware. I had fear, but I had fear of looking around, being aware of my surroundings, that nothing may happen to me. I survived, thank God. But like I said, the truth is all veterans pay with their lives. Some pay it all at once, while others pay it over a lifetime. So remember that. Sometimes, oh, that veteran, he's lost his mind. It's just, he's gone through some stuff. And you may have gone through some stuff in your life. We all need compassion. Man, we all need support. We all need a helpmate. We all need someone at one point to lift us up. Because guess what? Everyone in this room, including myself, we've all have fallen. And the thing is, when we fall, what we don't need people pointing the finger and saying, oh, look at you, look at you, look at you. We need people to extend that hand and say, hey, I know where you're at. I know where you've been. I've been there too. I'm here to lift you up. And that's what it's about. It's about lifting up our fellow man. It's about raising them up. It's not about bringing them down or talking down to them, but it's about lifting them up. Because one day, it might be you that needs that helping hand. And that's what we always have to remember. So just remember this. When you see a veteran, and just not today, but every single day, reach out your hand, support him, talk to him. Sometimes they don't need to talk for 30 minutes, just as a simple hello. Hey, I just wanted to check on you. Even if you just pick up the phone and call. Say, man, I just called to say hello, tell you I love you. I'm proud of you. It works with your kids too, by the way. And especially your wife. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and pleasure to share with you this morning. And once again, Marine Max, just thank you for this opportunity to allowing us to be here. All these special people, everyone in this place is unique. Everyone in this place is special. And everyone in this place is doing something to make this country better than it was yesterday. And that's what's the most important thing. It starts with you. Thank you very much. God bless.